Hello filmmakers, it's Kerry with Filmmaker Central, and we've got a new microphone we're checking out today. This is the Joby Wavo Plus, upgrade from the Wavo apparently, and it's got some cool features on it. But is it going to be any good? It's almost it's $199.99, so it's $200. Is it worth it? Well, that's what we need to find out. So first, let's take a look around the unit. On the right side, we have a safety track recording. So in the normal mode, it will just record a mono track. In the other mode, it will record a stereo track with the regular audio on one channel and a safety track, which is the same thing, just at a lower volume on the other track. So if the audio peaks, you're in good shape. Underneath that, we have our, what is that, a low cut filter, high cut filter, one of the two. You got a cut filter on here. On the other side, we have gain control. We have minus 10 dB, 0, and plus 16 dB. And on the bottom, we have a headphone jack for doing monitoring. Then on the back, we have a 3.5 millimeter TRS port to go out to a camera, USB-C port for charging, and output to digital audio, which we'll talk about that. This back part rotates, and that is the volume control for the headphone jack. And then we have an on-off button here, which fortunately I never need to use because it has auto power sensing. So when the camera turns on, it turns the microphone on. Pretty slick. So as you know, I have my other YouTube channel, Trail Traveler, which is all off-road videos and things like that. So we're outdoors all the time working on trail guides and adventures and just these epic trips that are really cool. Appreciate it if you check it out. It's just Trail Traveler. So we're gonna plug this in the way I would normally use it out in the field. So this is a DJI Action 3. We also use DJI Action 2s, and it works the same way. So we're gonna go from the USB-C port into the USB-C port on the camera. So we're getting digital audio going in. So that's pretty cool. If I was using like my Sony a7 III or my Sony NEX1, then I would go from the 3.5 jack into the microphone jack on the camera. So that's what we have going on right now. The question is it going to be worth $200? And that's a tough call because there's a lot of microphones on the market, and we use a variety of wireless lavalier mics. Now those work great for our talking head stuff, but they don't work really well for run and gun shooting, for quick impromptu interviews, or getting ambient sounds. Nothing has really seemed to work. We've even tried some rather expensive microphones, and they just didn't work well for our scenario. I like that this is tiny. Well, not tiny, but it's much smaller than some of the other microphones we've used. It feels very secure on here, and I think it's worth a try. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to go pack things up, head to the mountains, and try some tests. Well, we decided to take the Joby Wavo Plus out for a little stroll. I'm up in the mountains here in Colorado. We've got some wind going on, so we've got some wind noise. Don't know how that's going to affect it, but again, part of the testing here to see how this is going to work in kind of a real world environment. I've got it connected from the USB-C port on the back into the USB-C port on the DJI Action 3. And, you know, looking at the meter on the Action 3, it looks like it's getting really good volume. So hopefully that's going to work pretty well for our situation. Now, often we're on the trails and we want to get the noise of the vehicle, whether it's, a Hemi that's roaring or just the tires crawling over rocks and things. People like to hear that. So we've been trying to find ways of getting better audio for that scenario. Well, we filmed that with the DJI Action 3, and using the onboard microphone works, but it's just not quite there. It's not quite good enough. So looking for a microphone that will do that job for us. Now, this is probably a little extreme with the wind whipping through the trees here and hearing that, but I can probably remove that pretty easily in DaVinci Resolve using the voice isolation feature. So we're going to give that a try and see how it works. So I'm going to just be quiet for a moment and give you a little look around while we see what the noise level is on the camera and the microphone. Well, we're out testing the Joby microphone some more, the Wavo Plus. At least this time we got no wind, so wanted to see more of what this would be like in a good vlogging situation or picking up ambient sounds. And that's what we're going to do. So we're going to head down to this river and see if we can get some good water sounds to record. And we'll see just how well it does. I need to watch my step here as I go down these rocks. All right. Let's take a listen. Well, there's the Wavo Plus in kind of the conditions and the situation that we plan on using it for, which is to pick up really more ambient stuff and to do some simple walk around things like this. At arm's length, it should pick up pretty good. The farther away you go, the less image or less audio quality you're going to have, simply because that's the way microphones work. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put it much further away so you can kind of tell the difference. I'll wait for a car to go by. So this is the typical distance that I would be using the microphone at, about 2 feet away. But then, as we move it away, now I'm talking at the same volume. Now you can hear the difference. It's not going to pick up as well. My voice isn't going to sound as good. That's just, like I said, the nature of microphones. You always want the microphone to be as close to the subject as possible for the best results. So for this, I think I'm going to like it. All right, we're in the Jeep with the Wavo Plus. Just got it mounted on top of the DJI Action 3 here, and we're doing about 45 miles an hour on the highway. Again, I'm pretty sure this is going to pick up a lot of ambient noise. There's no built-in noise cancellation in it, so I'm sure it's going to pick everything up. Now I'm going to try and use the voice isolation feature in DaVinci Resolve. We'll see how that sounds. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're heading from Allen's Park to Lyons, Colorado. Just did some other videos up in the mountains, and then gonna head home. So we'll see if this works. Again, probably not the best situation, even though it's close. There's so much ambient noise. I just can't imagine that it's going to do a good job. But hey, sometimes things surprise me. Well, we're back from the mountains. I've had a chance to review the video and the audio. And I gotta say, I'm pretty impressed. Now, it doesn't cancel out the side and rear noise, but it sure minimizes it quite a bit. It picks up way, way better from the front, as you would expect. And it does a great job. For what it is, it's great. Let's talk about some negatives. And there's going to be negatives in anything, but I think there are some things for me. And this may not be an issue for everybody, but for me, there's a couple negatives. Number one, you got to charge the battery. So that's one more thing I have to remember to charge before we go out on a trip. Just got to remember to charge the microphone. Number two, this just comes off way too easily. In some big movements, walking around, I've had it slip. It hasn't fallen completely off, but it is not a super tight fit. And along with that, there's no dead cat that comes with it. So if you're in some heavy winds, this is not going to do the job. And you heard that in the video that we did. There's some heavy wind. I was able to knock a lot of it down with DaVinci Resolve voice isolation, but it certainly didn't kill it all. And in the worst cases, it made the voice kind of garbled. So a dead cat would have been a nice addition to this. So those are my negatives. Well, I mean, I guess the cost, $200 for a microphone is pretty pricey, but if it works, then price really isn't as big of an issue as it could be. Let's talk about the pluses on here. And again, for me, just again, not for everybody, but for me, the pluses are the USB to USB. It just ensures that I've got good quality connections. I don't have to use additional adapters. It just works. It plugs in, I'm good to go. And I found this nice short, like 8-inch cable on Amazon. So it just keeps the wiring nice and tight. So I'm really happy with that. The gain control doesn't do anything when you're in this mode, when you're in digital audio. If you're coming out of the 3.5, then the gain is going to do something. But in this scenario, it doesn't. The next thing that I really like is auto power on. So I'm going to turn the camera on. Well, I guess, I don't know if you'll be able to even see this, but I turn the camera on and there, the microphone turns on. So I don't have to remember to turn the microphone on and off. And I can see it from the front as well. There's a solid green on the back and there's a blinking green on the front. So while I have to remember to charge it, I don't have to remember to turn it on and off, because as soon as I turn the camera off, the microphone turns off. So there's that. So the auto power sensing when you're using a powered microphone, I think is really cool. It's one less thing to have to remember to do. And sure, you'll get into the habit of it, but if I don't have to think about it, especially if I'm handing this to someone else that doesn't know what they're doing, right? All they have to do is hit record. It turns the camera on, which turns the microphone on. It starts recording. They can do whatever filming they want to do. They hit record again, it stops recording, it turns the camera off, which turns the microphone off. So if we're making pretty much a brain dead package, this works really, really well. Okay, the bottom line is it worth $200? You know what, I can't answer that for you. It may be, it may not be. It is kind of pricey if it had some noise cancellation in it. If it also had a dead cat in it. There's those things that you could nitpick and say, well, if it had that, then it would be worth that price. Okay, again, it's going to be personal preference. We've tried other microphones from major brands. They haven't worked reliably every single time. This has, with one exception. When I first started testing it in this USB-C configuration, there was a background noise. Every single time, every single recording. I thought there was something wrong. I reached out to them. I'm like, hey, do you know anything about this? And before they had a chance to get back to me, I tried a different cable. Solved the problem. I bought this cable. Doesn't have the issue. So for some reason, one cable that I just happened to try, because it was right in front of me, which was also a fairly long cable too, and it was coiled up, had this electronic hum in the background. The shorter cables that I've tried have not had the problem. So whether it's a long cable issue or a specific cable issue, I don't know, but I do know with one cable I had a problem and 2 other cables I didn't. So take that for what it's worth. So there's the Joby Wavo Plus. I highly recommend it. I think it's a good product. I think we're going to use it quite often for our things. I am going to try and look and see if in one of my bags somewhere I have a dead cat that will fit on this. I think I might. If so, well, that might solve some of our wind problems, which isn't always a big deal. But when it is a big deal, it's a seriously big deal. So thanks for watching, everybody. This has been Kerry with Filmmaker Central. We'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.